Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another video. Today I'm going to be talking about two midfielders being linked to Chelsea in the summer. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit that like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. But let's get into firstly Kai Havertz, the Bayer Leverkusen midfielder who was linked to Chelsea by The Athletic yesterday. The Athletic understands Chelsea are keen on Bayer Leverkusen's midfielder, who is 7 years younger than Philippe Coutinho and regarded as one of the finest prospects in European football. He has been scouted regularly and is seen to be on the rise. Now, the reason they mentioned Philippe Coutinho was because this news came from an article all about Philippe Coutinho and Chelsea. Of course, Coutinho has been linked heavily to us in recent weeks. And what this article really did was sort of quash and sort of stop any of that momentum about that move. A lot of outlets have sort of claimed that the move is closer than it actually is. I've spoken about that on the channel before, and a lot of people have debated about it. Sort of what it says is that move for Coutinho is nowhere near close. Barcelona have apparently offered Coutinho, as I spoke about on Thursday's video. But Kai Havertz apparently is Chelsea's preference. And just looking at Havertz as a player and looking at why he's so highly rated across European football as one of Europe's sort of top young prospects. London Football here on Twitter, who sort of goes really in depth on stats. I definitely suggest you go and follow him. He says Havertz has 16 goal involvements in 25 Europa League and Bundesliga games this season, 15 big chances created in the league and 2.3 key passes per game. One of Europe's top young attacking talents. And then I digged a little bit deeper and went and read an article, sort of a scouting report for people who watch him regularly in Germany. And it was really interesting what came out of it. You know, he's an attacking mid. He plays mostly in a 4-2-3-1 formation, centrally as that number 10 role. But he can find space and drift wide, naturally to the right. And taking out some bits from that article and scouting report, which will be in the description box below if you want to go and read it and learn more about Havertz and his ability. He cleverly identifies pockets of space throughout multiple phases of play and zones on the pitch, whether it be helping play through an opposition press or manipulating space against a settled defensive shape. Some who have not witnessed this player at an extensive level may be hesitant to buy into how good he is made out to be. Havertz is not only setting the bar for the new attacking midfielder, but also a footballer. His outrageous skill set that features no limitation makes him one of the scariest prospects ever seen, and he's exhibited the intelligence and mentality to execute his talent, producing a world-class performance level. A lot of midfielders are being linked to Chelsea, and I can see why Havertz is as well. And when we're actually looking at sort of the investment on Coutinho and talking about the pros and cons of that move, it would be a wiser investment, in my opinion, going in for a player like Havertz. You could see why Chelsea would want to. Firstly, it'd probably be maybe a little bit cheaper than Coutinho in truth, even if, you know, Barcelona are trying to offload Coutinho in the summer. And, you know, that longer term investment, you know, we've seen this from Chelsea, the players they've bought recently, in the likes of Christian Pulisic, in the likes of Kepa, you know, players who are going to grow into the prime of their careers and they hope will become better later. I think you need that variety in sort of recruitment. Maybe in the past, that's something Chelsea haven't done as well as in trying to identify sort of the next star rather than getting the ready-made player. And that's maybe what Frank Lampard wants. But as I'm going to come on to, I think with Havertz and with the other player I'm going to talk about, Declan Rice from West Ham, Matt Law reporting West Ham brace for battle to keep hold of Declan Rice. West Ham United's fear they could be forced to sell Declan Rice in the next transfer window amid interest from the midfielder's former club Chelsea. It remains to be seen whether or not Chelsea could match West Ham's 70 million valuation of Rice following the financial impact of the virus. But Chelsea have plenty of players who West Ham would be interested in taking as part of a cash plus player deal, including midfielder Ross Barkley, who played for manager David Moyes at Everton. Striker Michy Batshuayi is another Chelsea player who West Ham have previously shown plenty of interest in, and the Belgian is expected to be made available. I think I spoke about Rice a few weeks back when Sky Sports reported about Chelsea being interested, so Matt Law now backing this up. But a bit like Havertz, a bit like a lot of players, even, you know, Coutinho, of course, you could throw in here, and several players maybe have him on a transfer list. But in terms of actually going out there and signing the player, negotiations, fees, you know, all of that hasn't been reported yet. So hold sort of your fire on sort of thinking that this move is close to happening, because all that's being reported at the moment is Chelsea, Man United, clubs like that are interested in this player. 70 million, I think, is a really ridiculous fee in terms of, I just don't think it'd be a smart move to Chelsea once again. And when I'm talking about midfielders, I just think Havertz, really impressive player, as the scouting report shows. You know, I think he will probably go out to be one of Europe's best players. But do Chelsea need these midfielders? I hear all these links to midfielders, and I just think priority-wise, Chelsea, when we look at the midfielders we have, I look at Havertz and I look at Declan Rice. Why go out and spend fortunes on players like that when in comparison to, say, Kai Havertz, you've got Mason Mount, you've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek, you've got players there that you can develop, Tino Andrew maybe in a couple of years' time, Conor Gallagher in a couple of years' time, that could save the club a lot of money. You know, I think Chelsea should be investing in those players, giving them more time to develop. And then Declan Rice, instead of Declan Rice, you've got players in the prime of their career like Jorginho, who can do that role, I think, better at the moment. And also you've got Billy Gilmour, the future potentially in that role. So I think Chelsea should be focusing and prioritising youth, especially in midfield where you've got that variety. And I don't want to sound like a broken record on this, but I just think I keep on hearing these reports, and either these reports are wrong in terms of just Chelsea maybe are looking at players, but they aren't actually that serious. Or in some ways, in my personal opinion, it's going in for players that I just don't think we need at the moment. Going in for players that are still luxury signings, that are icing on the cake. You know, I think there are foundational pieces of Chelsea's squad that still need to be added to and strengthened to move forward. Maybe clearing out some players that are maybe past their best, who want to move on now. I spoke about yesterday when I answered a question about Ross Barkley. I think Barkley and Batshuayi are probably two players, especially maybe Barkley if we're talking about midfielders. I think one or two midfielders would have to leave for a player like Havertz or a player like Rice to come in, especially for Rice's fee, 70 million. I mean, 70 million, that's just under Chelsea's highest ever fee for a player in Kepa. So I just can't see that move happening unless West Ham were to significantly lower their price to maybe 30, 40 million. And I think if you're going to take that money, I think look at left back. I'd rather spend an extra 20, 30 million on a player like Ben Chilwell or a player like Alex Grimaldo, personally for me, or Alex Telles, to get that position, because we need it. Centre back, right winger, striker, spending more money in those areas. And as I spoke about yesterday as well, with this pandemic, if Chelsea are only going to be able to sign maybe 3 players, midfielder is not an option I'm going for. And for those asking in the comments about me talking about buying and selling players, I made a video weeks back about this that you can go and check out on the channel. I'll leave the link in the description box below of who I would buy and sell in the summer. No matter what I say about this subject, the fact that Chelsea keep on being linked to midfielders, I think is pretty interesting. So there must be something to it, especially when people like Matt Law are talking about it. So maybe Chelsea are serious about investing in midfield, and Frank Lampard feels it's an area that needs to be strengthened in the summer, even if I personally don't think it needs to. Please let me know your opinions on both players in the comments below. But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.